Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're looking at VICI Properties, ticker symbol VICI. So we're going to run through the basics of VICI's business. We're going to take a peek at why the stock trades like it does. Then we're going to run through some of the numbers and try to come up with a fair value for VICI stock to see if it's worth investing in today. Okay, now we're going to do this entire analysis on the Investors Grow website, where we try to make it quick and easy to analyze companies. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to sign up to get access to that. Okay, now let's jump in and start with the absolute basics. So VICI is a real estate investment trust, or REIT for short. And we'll get into the nuances of what makes a REIT an interesting investment in a moment. But for now, let's start with the very basics for this particular REIT. Now, what this REIT does is it owns high-profile real estate on long-term contracts. So VICI owns things like casinos, resorts, hotels, and really a bunch of entertainment destinations. Now, they own the real estate itself, and then they lease the buildings and property to the companies like Caesars or MGM. And those companies run the actual underlying business. So at the end of the day, VICI's primary job is to collect rents. They're the landlord. And because they have lease contracts in place, well, they expect to get the same rent every month. So even if the operators of the underlying business have a good month or a bad month, well, VICI would expect to get the same rent over and over. They're far less exposed to the volatility of the underlying businesses. Okay, now, if we're new to investing in real estate or investing in REITs, there are two terms that we need to be aware of. It's kind of unique to this industry and especially important if we're looking at a company like VICI Properties. The first one is called triple net leases. So with a triple net lease contract, well, the tenant will pay different costs that are often associated with the owner of the property. For example, the tenant will pay the taxes. They pay for the insurance of the place. They pay for the maintenance. This is probably the most important one. They pay for the maintenance and repairs of the company. So if the casino needs a new roof, VICI doesn't have anything to do with that. Caesars or whoever's casino it is will have to repair that out of their own revenue. So in the case of VICI Properties, well, most of their contracts are triple net leases. Now, this has both positive and negative effects for a company like VICI. First, expenses and profit are much smoother because the volatility that might come with unknown, unexpected repairs and things like that, well, they don't have to deal with any of that. So really, their expenses ended up being much more stable and much more predictable since the tenant is dealing with most of those expenses. So that's a very good thing. But on the negative side, kind of the same token though, well, if those unexpected expenses pop up, well, the tenant needs to be in a position to cover those expenses. In theory, those expenses have the possibility of stressing the tenant and ultimately kind of stressing their ability to pay rent, but it doesn't directly go to VICI, which I think is an important distinction. So while a lot of other REITs might be affected by kind of unknown and unexpected expenses, well, this doesn't directly hurt VICI. Now, another investing term that we should be aware of for this particular type of REIT is called a sale-leaseback. So a sale-leaseback is when the company, let's say we use Caesars Casino as the example. Well, Caesars Casino approaches VICI Properties and says, hey, we want to sell you our property, right? We currently own it. We want to sell it to you. Well, they sell it to them, and then VICI immediately leases back the property to Caesars on a long-term contract. So let's say Caesars says, all right, the property's worth, I don't know, $1 billion. Okay, we'll give you the $1 billion, and then we'll lease it back to you on, let's say, a 30 or 40 plus year contract. So as far as the company is concerned, a company like Caesars, well, they get a lump sum of cash payment. Maybe they use that to expand their business, pay off debt, whatever they decide to do with it. And for VICI Properties, well, they get a steady flow of cash flow on a monthly basis as that company pays rent. Now, one of the other good parts of the type of properties that VICI owns is they call these properties mission-critical assets. Essentially, if you think about a company like Caesars, well, Caesars Entertainment has Caesars Casino in Las Vegas. That's a very important property to them. And because that's a very important property to them, it's likely they don't want that property to go under. So they'll probably maintain it well. They'll probably keep up with it. They're less likely basically to walk away from the rent because their business is struggling a bit. They're more likely to sell other, let's say, less marquee properties. And that is a good sign for a company like VICI. So these are two important terms that we know. VICI has done both triple net leases and a bunch of sale leasebacks. Okay, now we jump over. This is a map that I found on VICI's website, and they currently have 93 different properties. The orange dots on this map are, they call them gaming, so casino-type properties. And then the dark red ones are non-gaming, but still experiential properties. So properties where you go for, different experiences. One example might be a property like Chelsea Piers in New York. Chelsea Piers has a whole bunch of different things. They have an ice skating rink, bowling alley, they have boating and golfing and a whole bunch of things in downtown Manhattan. It's a really nice property, but this is owned by VICI and managed by a different company. Okay, so they own a bunch of different properties all over North America. Now, with that in mind, let's jump in and look quickly at their biggest holdings. And this one's real important. So first is Caesars Entertainment. Now, Caesars has things like the Caesars in Las Vegas. They also have Harrah's in Las Vegas, Harrah's in Atlantic City, Caesars in Atlantic City. They have one in Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Louisiana, I believe. All of these are owned, the properties are owned by VICI. And VICI has a master lease with Caesars Entertainment that handles all of these properties all in a single lease. Now, this is a big deal because Caesars Entertainment contributes 39% of VICI's revenue. So clearly, this is a big number. And we might right away think, wow, that's kind of a big number. There's a certain amount of consolidation risk here. So that's not a great thing. And it actually gets worse than that because not only is there Caesars, but MGM also contributes a big piece of their revenue. Now, MGM contributes 35% of revenue. And again, this goes beyond just their Las Vegas locations. Although they have a bunch of locations in Vegas, but they also have ones in Atlantic City. They control the Borgata. That's another one in Atlantic City. VICI owns all those properties. They have another one in Detroit. They have one in Maryland. They have one in Springfield, Massachusetts. The list goes on and on. Again, a master contract has that contract with MGM and VICI. And altogether, we can see that these companies are contributing 74% of VICI's total revenue. Now, this type of concentration risk isn't automatically a bad thing, but it is the reality and it's something that we simply can't ignore. So if these two companies look like they have healthy cash flows, well, VICI Properties is likely to be in fairly good shape. But if the markets start to worry about either one of these two companies, well, it's likely that that worry will kind of flow through to VICI's stock. So, for example, you might have heard some recent news when I was analyzing this company. Well, I came across some news where tourism in Las Vegas has been down over the past couple of years. And when I double checked that, that is in fact true. Tourism is down, and because of that, that has put pressure on both of these companies, and ultimately, VICI's stock has struggled a bit because of it. Now, I do want to point out that just because there's pressure on those individual companies, well, that doesn't automatically flow through to hit on VICI's revenue, let's say, or profit or anything like that. It doesn't actually affect them as long as those companies continue to pay their rent. Now, if, for example, a company like Caesars went out of business and they were no longer going to pay the rent or they were going to walk away from the company, okay, fine, that would be a problem. But that's highly unlikely in the near term. So I do think that the market often overreacts to bad quarters put up by these guys when that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily going to flow straight through to VICI. Now, one advantage of this type of contract being in this place and the kind of concentration around these types of contracts that they have with the entire company is that you end up with much longer term contracts, in many cases, kind of 40 years plus. And from a rent collecting perspective, that's fairly a good thing. They have built-in increases on an annual basis, somewhere between usually 2 to 3% increases each year. And ultimately, this stock often kind of acts more like a long-dated bond than it does an individual stock. So that type of predictable cash flow is something that could be interesting. We'll touch on more on that in a second. Okay, now with all that being said, let's jump over and look at some of the numbers. So we have an idea of how this company now operates. We now have an idea of how they run and kind of what makes them tick. Well, this is a chart of revenue, and we can see that revenue has actually ramped up nicely over the past few years. Now, if we think about the entire thing we just went through, as far as what makes this business move along and what makes it grow, well, this type of growth isn't normally what we might expect. Now, it should be pointed out that along the way, during this time period, well, they acquired the MGM properties. They acquired Harrah's Atlantic City. They picked up Harrah's New Orleans. During that quick ramp up, well, they bought into MGM growth properties. Then in 2023, I think they bought $400 million worth of, I want to say bowling alleys. I think they bought 38 different bowling alleys. That's also right around the time when they bought Chelsea Piers. So clearly, growth isn't just coming from the increase in rent. In fact, their primary driver of growth is acquisitions. And this alone would give us some interesting points for us to consider. For example, lower interest rates will probably make doing deals by making big acquisitions easier. So clearly, higher interest rates would be bad for future growth. Also, higher interest rates would be bad if you're looking at this company as this is investment as a long-dated bond. Well, the lower the interest rates, the more likely that you'd be interested in this 6% dividend-yielding stock. We'll come back to that in a second, but interest rates turn out to be a major factor for what is considered when investing in this company. And also, since they're tied to experienced locations, well, we can imagine that that would be largely driven by how well the economy is doing. If we end up in a recession or the consumer slows spending, well, their customers are likely to feel the pain, and that's likely to put pressure on this stock as well. Okay, now we're going to move over to another number, and this one's called funds from operations. Now, for anybody new to REITs, well, you may not have heard of funds from operations before, and essentially it's kind of like the REIT version of earnings per share or net income. The problem with a line item like net income, for a traditional company, it's great, but for a company like a real estate investment trust, well, depreciation, when you consider depreciation, you do depreciate a building, you don't depreciate the land, and those two alone could throw off the way profit looks. So essentially what the industry has done is they've created a new number specifically for REITs called funds from operations, which is more closely in line to analyzing how much money they collect in rents and what the expenses are. This is essentially the profit for a REIT. You can see here that in the early years, things were climbing along nicely, and then they made the MGM acquisition in 2022. We saw a big jump in funds from operations, and then it has continued to climb higher since then. Okay, now with that being said, let's shift over and look at the dividends we mentioned a moment ago. Now, one of the things that makes REITs interesting from an investment standpoint is they tend to pay fairly good dividends. We can see VICI has a dividend yield of almost 6%. Now, one of the reasons that their dividend yield tends to be so much higher is that they don't pay corporate income tax as long as they pay out the majority of their profits as dividends or distributions. So because of that, many of these companies tend to have pretty good dividend yields. And again, kind of forces them, oftentimes investors might look at them as an alternative to a bond type investment. So if we are looking, or if we are considering an investment in a company, in a REIT, well, one, watch funds from operations. They'll report that in their quarterly numbers, but it also makes sense to look at their dividend. How much dividend coverage do they have? In the case of VICI, they actually have 1.3x for dividend coverage, which means that they have more than enough money to pay their dividend, which tells us that as of right now, their dividend appears to be fairly stable, and we can see it has consistently increased over the past few years. Okay, now let's jump over and try to look at the fair value for VICI stock. Now, you may have noticed that with this, as we've gone through this analysis, REITs are a bit unique than compared to most traditional companies. And what we've tried to do with the Investors Grow website is we've tried to get our hands on these unique data points that tries to make analyzing these types of companies a bit easier. So on the Investors Grow website, well, when you click on the Fair Value tab, if it is a REIT we're looking at, well, you'll see this REITs tab appears. And sure enough, when we click on that, well, this will give us price to funds from operations. And again, we know this is a similar thing, funds from operations is a similar number to earnings per share. And as you might expect, well, this is a very similar chart to what you might see if you were looking at the price to earnings multiple, but it's specifically for a REIT. And if we look at this chart, this is a 5-year chart. By the way, this company went public back in 2018, which is why I'm using a 5-year chart, not a 10-year chart, but they went public. And if you look at the quarterly number of what price to funds from operation was over the past 5 years, well, we can see that right now it does in fact look undervalued. It is on the lower end of the fair value range. Now, we could, in some instances, for a REIT, you might use something like price to book value might be an interesting number to consider. It kind of works for VICI to a degree because they do a lot of, they do some mezzanine financing, they do some loans to some of their customers. So any company, any REIT that holds investments in their portfolio, a lot of times price to book could be a good valuation method. But if it's an operational REIT where their primary form of revenue is to collect rent, well, then it's far smarter just to stick with price to funds from operations. Now, this brings us to the question, is VICI Properties a good investment? Well, I guess it really depends on what type of risks we're comfortable with. For me, the idea of just two companies contributing so much to their revenue is a bit nerve-wracking, specifically when we consider that these companies have felt some recent pressure, like Caesars and MGM. And I was reading about MGM is looking to renegotiate their master contract with VICI Properties, and we're not really sure how that will shake out yet. But in theory, they could maybe get less increases, or they could, maybe lower rent a little. Again, these companies contribute so much to revenue, that could be a problem. Outside of that, I think that the big advantage of VICI's an investment in VICI is that they have steady funds from operations. And ultimately, that leads to steady dividends. So if we're looking for an investment that has fairly steady dividends and a relatively high dividend yield, again, we saw that was about 6%, and it looks reasonably undervalued right now, well, then VICI Properties could be a good one for us to look into. And oftentimes, this is a diversifier from the standpoint of not many people hold REITs. So this could be an interesting dividend investment for us to consider. Now, for me, on a personal basis, I'm going to skip this one for now. Too much of their growth is tied to their ability to find new deals. And I think big deals, at least in the near term, are likely to be a little tougher to find. I think that until things are a little clear, maybe interest rates drop down a bit more, I think that could make it a bit more interesting and a bit more appealing, and at least potentially line up some growth for them. In fact, that may be the reason that the stock is undervalued right now. Now, if you're analyzing any other REITs, or if you're trying to find a good place for analyzing companies or finding good investments that could, in theory, pay out big dividends, well, you can come over and sign up for the Investors Grow website, where we try to make it quick and easy to analyze companies. And we do 3 live streams per week on our private investing community. So thank you very much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. Let me know what you think of VICI Properties or any other REIT that you think we should analyze. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.